Good morning, dear students. Welcome to your English class. Today, we are going to open up the last chapter from your textbook, Moments. The chapter is The Beggar, written by Anton Chekhov. He was a Russian writer. The story highlights the transformation of an alcoholic through kindness, compassion, and selflessness. Some people have the fate to get into bad habits, and it is the help or influence of good human beings they can quit. They'll get a chance to quit, and it will be by the influence of some good people. Here, a beggar get reformed by the compassion of a good person and lives a true life. That is what the story tells. So, we shall see the rest in the story. Okay. So, here the story starts. Kind sir, have pity. Turn your attention to a poor, hungry man. For 3 years, I have had nothing to eat. I haven't 5 kopecks for a lodging. I swear it before God. For 8 years, I was a village school teacher and then lost my place through intrigues. I fell a victim to calumny. It's a year now since I have had anything to do. The advocate, Sergey, looked at the ragged, fawn-colored overcoat of the suppliant, at his dull, drunken eyes, at the red spot on either cheek, and it seemed to him as if he had seen this man somewhere before. I have now had an offer of a position in the province of Kaluga, the mendicant went on. But I haven't the money to get there. Help me kindly. I'm ashamed to ask, but I'm obliged to by circumstances. Sergey's eyes fell on the man's overshoes, one of which was high and the other low, and he suddenly remembered something. Look here, it seems to me I met you the day before yesterday at Sadovia Street, he said. But you told me then that you were a student who had been expelled and not a village school teacher. Do you remember? No, that can't be so, mumbled the beggar, taken aback. I'm a village school teacher, and if you like, I can show my papers. Have done with lying. You call yourself a student and even told me what you had been expelled for. Don't you remember? Sergey flushed and turned from the ragged creature with an expression of disgust. So, we shall see the summary of this page. Sergey is the main character of this story. Sergey, who was an advocate, meets a beggar one day on the way to his office. The beggar asks him for a help to give some money. He tells Sergey his situation, that he was a school teacher who had lost his place due to the conspiracy of some of his colleagues. But now he has got a job in Kaluga, but he has no money to get there. But Sergey identified the beggar and tells him that Sergey had met him, the same beggar, in Sadovia Street. But the beggar denies that and makes Sergey believe that he is a school teacher and can show his papers. Sergey gets angry and tells the beggar that he is not mistaken and he had met the same person in the Sadovia Street. At that time, the beggar told him that he was a student and had been expelled. When he met him at the Sadovia Street, the beggar told him that he was a student and had been expelled. But now he has changed his position, and now he is saying that He was a school teacher who had been expelled. That is what is saying in these paragraphs in the first page of the story. Now, the next page, page number 63. This is dishonesty, my dear sir, he cried angrily. This is swindling. I shall send the police for you, damn you. Sir, he said, laying his hand on his heart, the fact is, I was lying. I am neither a student nor a school teacher. All that was fiction. Formerly, I sang in a Russian choir and was sent away for drunkenness. But what else can I do? I can't get along without lying. No one will give me anything when I tell the truth. What can I do? What can you do? You ask what you can do, cried Sergey, coming close to him. Work. That's what you can do. You must work. Work? Yes, I know that myself. But what can I find work? Where can I find work? How would you like to chop wood for me? I wouldn't refuse to do that, but in these days, even skilled woodcutters find themselves sitting without bread. Will you come and chop wood for me? Yes, sir, I will. Very well, we'll soon find out. Sergey hastened along, rubbing his hands. He called his cook out of the kitchen. Here, Olga, he said, take this gentleman into the woodshed and let him chop wood. The scarecrow of a beggar shrugged his shoulders as if in perplexity and went irresolutely after the cook. It was obvious from his gait that he had not consented to go and chop wood because he was hungry and wanted work, but simply from pride and shame and because he had been trapped by his own words. It was obvious too that his strength had been undermined by vodka and that he was unhealthy and did not feel the slightest inclination for toil. Sergey hurried into the dining room. From its windows, one could see the woodshed and everything that went on in the yard. Standing at the window, Sergey saw the cook and beggar come out into the yard by the back door and make their way across dirty snow to the shed. Olga glared wrathfully at her companion, shoved him aside with her elbow, unblocked with the shed, and angrily banged the door. So, here we can say the explanation or the summary of these paragraphs in page number 63. So, Sergey became very angry towards the beggar and he warned the beggar that he will call the police. Hearing that, the beggar agreed to Sergey that he is neither a student nor a school teacher. He was a singing person in Russian choir and was sent away for drunkenness. He says, whenever he told the truth, no one gave him anything, even a job. So he was forced to do lying always. Then Sergey advised him to live a respectful life by doing hard work. One needs to work hard to earn a living. That's the right way. But the beggar asked him, even the skilled men are sitting at home jobless, then who is going to offer a job for me? An alcoholic. Sergey was a kind man and he offers the beggar a job. He tells the beggar to come to his house and cut the wood for him. Sergey gives him the address and all, but the beggar don't have the plan to earn a living by working hard. Still, he is forced to follow Sergey's commands or advice. The beggar accepts the offer reluctantly. So, on the said day, the beggar goes to Sergey's house to chop the wood. Sergey is pleased to see the beggar because he was doubtful whether the beggar would come or not. Sergey calls his cook, the fat little lady, and her name is Olga. Sergey asks her to take the beggar to the woodshed. Olga is very rude to the beggar and scolds him with her gestures or body language. But she has to obey Sergey's orders and she leads him to the woodshed and hands him over the axe. But the beggar was too weak to work. He was unable to hold the axe properly. It is just because of the overconsumption of alcohol. He was very weak to do the job. Sergey was standing at the window and he was seeing every moment of the beggar and Olga. He was watching everything. He sees the beggar is very weak to do the job. What is his job? What job he has given to the beggar? To cut the wood. But it seemed he is very weak to do the job he has given to him. Now, the paragraphs from page number 64. Here it starts. Next he saw the pseudo teacher seat himself on a log and become lost in thought with his red cheeks resting on his fists. The woman flung down an axe at his feet, spat angrily, and judging from the expression of her lips, began to scold him. The beggar irresolutely pulled a billet of wood towards him, set it up between his feet, and tapped it feebly with the axe. The billet wavered and fell down. The beggar again pulled it to him, blew on his freezing hands, and tapped it with his axe cautiously, as if afraid of hitting his overshoe or of cutting off his finger. The stick of wood again fell to the ground. Sergey's anger had vanished and he now began to feel a little sorry and ashamed of himself for having set a spoiled, drunken, perhaps sick man to work at mental labor in the cold. An hour later, Olga came in and announced that the wood all had been chopped. Good, give him half a ruble. Ruble, said Sergey. If he wants to, he can come back and cut wood on the first day of each month. We can always find a work for him. On the first of the month, the waif made his appearance and again earned half a ruble. Although he could barely stand on his legs. From that day on, he often appeared in the yard and every time was found for him. Now he would shovel snow, now put the woodshed in order, now beat the dust out of rugs and mattresses. Every time he received from 20 to 40 kopecks, and once even a pair of old trousers were sent out to him. So what we have seen in these paragraphs are Sergey watched through the window. Sergey was watching through the window that Olga was scolding. Olga was scolding the beggar all the time. So Sergey was watching all this through his window. Sergey felt sorry and ashamed of himself because the beggar was unable to perform the duty he has given. The beggar was too weak due to the consumption of alcohol. But after some time, Olga came to Sergey and announced that the wood had been chopped. Sergey became very happy hearing this and asked the beggar to come to the first day of each month to chop the wood. The beggar obeyed Sergey and came the first day of each month. He has given work that shovel the snow, make the woodshed in order, and beat the dust out of rugs and mattresses. Whenever he worked, he has given 20 to 40 kopecks. One day, a pair of old trousers were sent out to him. Now the rest of the paragraphs from page number 65, starting from the second paragraph. When Sergey moved into another house, he hired him to help him in the packing and hauling of the furniture. This time, The wife was sober, gloomy, and silent. He hardly touched the furniture and walked behind the wagons, hanging his head, not even making a pretense of appearing busy. He only shivered in the cold and became embarrassed when the carters jeered at him for his idleness, his feebleness, and his tattered fancy overcoat. After the moving was over, Sergei went for him. Well, I'm happy that my words have taken effect, he said, handling him a ruble. Here's for your pains. I see you are sober and have no objection to work. What is your name? Lashkov. Well, Lashkov, I can now offer you some other cleaner employment. Can you write? I can. Then take this letter to a friend of mine tomorrow and you'll be given some copying to do. Work hard, don't drink, and remember what I have said to you. Goodbye. Pleased at having put a man on the right path, Sergei tapped Leshkov kindly on the shoulder and even gave him his hand at parting. Leshkov took the letter and from that day forth came no more to the yard for work. 2 years went by. Then one evening, as Sergei was standing at the ticket window of the theatre paying for his seat, he noticed a little man beside him with a coat, collar of curly fur, and a worn sealskin cap. This little individual timidly asked the ticket seller for a seat in the gallery and paid for it in copper coins. Lashkov, is that you? Cried Sergei, recognizing in the little man his former wood chopper. How are you? What are you doing? How is everything with you? All right? All right. I'm a notary now, and I'm paid 35 rubles a month. Now, what we have seen in these paragraphs are when Sergei planned to move into another house, he hired the beggar, that is Lashkov, to do the packing and carrying of the furniture. But the man didn't do any work. He was gloomy and silent. He just walked behind the wagons without helping the others in moving things. He was shivering in cold, and the persons driving carts were made fun of him for his idleness, weakness, and his tattered fancy overcoat. But Sergei was not at all aware of Lashkov's laziness. He was not at all aware of anything. Sergei thought the man was doing all the work for him. So he sent for him and paid him for his job. Sergei offered a clean environment job for Lashkov with the help of his friend. Sergei was very much impressed by the hard work of this Lashkov or the beggar. So he offered a clean environment job for Lashkov with the help of his friend. After 2 years, Sergei happened to see Lashkov standing at the ticket window of a theatre, paying for his seat just beside him. The Sergei was also paying for his seat. At the same time, he just beside him, he saw a man. It was Lashkov, and he was neatly dressed in a coat collar of curly face and worn a sealskin cap. Sergei became very happy to see the man Lashkov and asked him about his whereabouts. Lashkov told him that he is working as a notary and paid 35 rubles a month. Now, page number 66. We shall going to see the paragraphs from that page. Thank heaven, that's fine. I'm delighted for your sake. I'm very, very glad, Lashkov. You see, you are my godson, in a sense. I gave you a push along the right path, you know. Do you remember what a roasting I gave you? Huh? I nearly had you sinking into the ground at my feet that day. Thank you, old man, for not forgetting my words. Thank you too, said Lashkov. If I hadn't come to you when I met, then I might still have been calling myself a teacher or a student on to this day, or a student to this day. Yes, by flying to your protection, I dragged myself out of a pit. I'm very glad indeed. Thank you for your kind words and deeds. I'm very grateful to you and to your cook. God bless that good and noble woman. You spoke finely then, and I shall be indebted to you to my dying day. But strictly speaking, it was your cook Olga who saved me. How is that? When I used to come to your house to chop wood, she used to begin, "Oh, you sowed you, oh, you miserable creature, there is nothing for you but ruin." And then she would sit down opposite to me and grow sad, look into my face and weep. "Oh, you unlucky man, there is no pleasure for you in this world, and there will be none in the world to come. You drunkard, you will burn in hell. Oh, you unhappy one." And so he would carry on, in that strain. I can tell you how much misery she suffered, how many tears she shed for my sake. But the chief thing was, she used to chop the wood for me. Do you know? Do you know, sir? That I did not chop one single stick of wood for you. She did it all. Why this saved me, why I changed, why I stopped drinking at the sight of her, I cannot explain. I only know that, owing to her words and noble deeds, a change took place in my heart. She set me right, and I shall never forget it. However, it is time to go now. There goes the bell. Lashkov bowed and departed to the gallery. Now, what the paragraph says, Sergei expressed his happiness to Lashkov for his success in life. Sergei said that he got a chance to lead a person to the right path who was a beggar, who had no hope in life and was ruining his life as a drunkard. Sergei was very happy to see the transformation of Lashkov. Lashkov expressed his gratitude towards Sergei and told him that it was his pity that helped Lashkov to lead him to the right path. Otherwise, he would have been the beggar for his lifetime. But Lashkov told him, or revealed the truth that, but the credit goes to, the real credit goes to Olga the cook. Sergei was surprised to hear that and asked him how Olga helped him. Lashkov told him that although Olga was rude to him or scolded him always, she was very kind to him. He told Sergei that he never cut the wood for him. The beggar, or the Lashkov, didn't never cut the wood for Sergei at his house. It was Olga, his cook, who had done all the job for him. That was the truth. Olga identified that Lashkov was very weak to cut the wood. So she has done the cutting for herself always and told Sergei that he had, the beggar or the Lashkov. The Lashkov had cut the wood. So it was Olga's deed really changed his heart. Her kindness, compassion, and selflessness changed the mindset of Lashkov. That is what actually happened. So all the work were done by the cook, Olga. Although Sergei had helped him, but the real credit goes to, here Sergei was a person who influenced his life change. But All the surgery helped him, but the real credit goes to Olga. That is the story tells. So that's the end of the story. What we have learned from the story? The story tells, or the story teaches, or the story gives the moral. Even a bad person can be changed or reformed by showing compassion to him. So, what we need to do? We all need to do such kinds of good things while living in this world. We need to show compassion to the weak, and we need to help them as we can. As it is a short story, I just tried to give the summary of the story. You need to go through the lines, you need to go through the paragraphs yourself, and try to write your own words. Okay, so that's the end. Wish you good luck. Thank you. Goodbye.